Ladies and gentlemen, David Ferrell.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Wow. Glad to be back home in Cary, North Carolina. Yes. Yes, I just finished a very unusual comedy tour. It was called the Healthcare Comedy Tour, which I really enjoyed. Is there anybody out there that maybe is a registered nurse or a LPN, low-paid nurse, or maybe a 911 operator or a doctor, someone in EMS or emergency service? Anybody? Let's hear you. It's nice to know if there's an emergency, we have one qualified person for the 250 people here tonight. Well, it's good. I always love to do comedy, and it's very interesting. I did a show for an alcohol recovery group with the Salvation Army, and I wasn't completely familiar with the Salvation Army, but I wanted to do some good for them. And so I went to do the show, and I show up, and there's three guys in military uniforms, and it kind of threw me, and the guy that booked me said, "I want to introduce you to everybody." He said, "This is Lieutenant Little, and this is Sergeant Smith, and this is the main guy in charge of the alcohol recovery program. This is Captain Morgan." And I'm like, so if you're trying to stop drinking alcohol and you have to refer to somebody as Captain Morgan 10 times a day, you do realize your chances of relapse are pretty good. I was up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and at a hospital up there, we were doing a fundraising event, and the emphasis of the fundraiser was about stroke. And I wanted to be familiar with stroke and what they're doing there at the hospital, and because we want to raise as much money and awareness as possible. So I asked the person in charge, I said, "I want to find out more about stroke and what you're doing here at the hospital. How can I access more information?" And they're like, "Well, if you want to know more about what we're doing with the stroke, you should go to the website. Everything you need to know about stroke is on the website." So I go to the website, and the first web page states this: "Every minute you're having a stroke is a minute of brain loss. Take this 7-minute survey to see if you're having a stroke. Dial 911. You can't just dial 911 and get immediate response. 911 operators actually want a lot of information before they determine whether to send somebody. I kind of think this is a little bit of a waste of time, but I understand you didn't want to disperse them unnecessarily. I was actually driving my rental car. I had a show in Indiana, and I'm driving down the road, and I see a guy who apparently is digging a ditch, and when I come past him, it looked like he hit a wire, and he kind of went unconscious on the ground. So I pull over, and I call 911. They said, "911, what's your emergency?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm driving, and this guy is digging a ditch, and he hit a wire, and he's unconscious. He needs emergency assistance." And they said, "Oh, well, you got to call 811 before you dig." So I call 811. It's like, "Hey, 811, this guy's digging a ditch. He hit a wire. He's unconscious." And she's like, "Well, that's an emergency. You need to call 911. I said, "I know, but they told me to call you." And they said, "Well, you need to call them back." I call them back. I said, "It's me again, and this guy's still unconscious on the ground." And she's like, "Okay, well, what's your location?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Dial 411. I don't know." So I've been doing memory care facilities for a long time. Apparently, there's a shortfall in the amount of money they need to help people with memory issues. And so I did a show actually in Greensboro, about an hour from here. 8 years ago, we did an event, and it was very successful. And they asked me before the event, "Can we film your show?" And I said, "Well, sure. I don't really care." So every year I've been calling them and saying, "Hey, do you guys need me to come back for another fundraiser?" And they're like, "Oh, no, we're fine." So don't get ahead of me, okay? So I finally asked, I said, "That event was highly successful." And they said, "Yeah, we raised more money than we ever did." And I said, "Well, why haven't you had me back?" And they said, "Well, we asked if we could film your show." I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, we've been showing you every week for the past 8 years, because after 6 days, your stuff's fresh again." Now, there's drugs out there that help you with memory care issues. Do you guys know that? There's one out there called Prevagen. And it's very different than the other memory care drugs because it includes an ingredient that's only found in jellyfish. And how did they find this out? My only experience with jellyfish has been negative, not positive. It's been stinging. So I'm assuming this one ingredient in Prevagen stings, which if they tell me that, I will gladly urinate on someone to make sure that they're better. Joan London used to be the former co-host of Good Morning America from 1982, I think, to 85. And she's now 68 years old and the spokesperson for A Place for Mom. Have you seen this? Yeah, well, she's 68. She may need a place for herself at this point. But if she wants to go in with Mom, she'll save 50%. I think it's, you notice there's no place for Dad. We pretty much tell him to work himself into a grave, don't we? Can you still move, Dad?
Yes.
Well, get working.
Okay.
I don't know. It's very interesting. I notice we're in the day and age where people have therapy animals, therapy-assisted animals, and that's great. I think we all need these out. I just don't know. I see different animals now. At first, it was just dogs. Actually, I flew into the airport. There was a lady with 2 therapy dogs. I assume she was bipolar, but I'm not sure. She had 2. But then she actually told me that dog is helping this dog. So I'm just not sure. You guys understand, when is this going to stop? I've seen therapy pigs. I've seen therapy cats. I wonder if somebody actually would have a therapy giraffe. It would work in a theater like this, but going to McDonald's would be ridiculous. Here, duck your head. I would rather have a therapy parrot. I think that'd be best. You would always have someone to talk to. If you don't think you're always right, you are, because they repeat everything you just say in a very positive way. If you want to know what people are saying about you, leave the room. Come back, what do they say? They don't like you. We actually talk about people according to their size now, and I don't really agree with that. I think it's always what's on the inside that's important. But then I do understand, because we look different and we're different sizes and shapes, that we do actually form groups according to these sizes. Now, I was in my house and I see a group of teenage kids. They come walking through my yard, and I notice that the one kid that's a little bigger than the other kids doesn't go to the sidewalk when I say, hey, can you please go to the sidewalk? He just stubbornly walks through my yard. I'm trying to be, very nice about it, and I said, hey, Ovaltine, go to the sidewalk.